Okay. Before we start too, I know it's recording. I'll cut this out. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name properly. Is it Daria
Yeah,
or
can be
it is
Daria,
Daria?
Daria. It's
Daria?
yeah, you can say how are you, how you want, really.
I know, but names are important. Like people slaughter my name. And so I know it's important to like so
Okay.
Daria? Like roll
Yeah,
with
Daria Albers.
Daria. Okay. Sounds good. Here we go. Daria, I am so glad that you're here with me today because you are this fountain of knowledge, not only with your education, but also with your experience. Like, you were a former professional fighter, you are an expert in psychology, you work with UFC fighters, I'm pretty sure special ops as well,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So, like, you really are this fountain of knowledge. And right away, just hearing that, all the youth listening to this are like, oh, what? She's a badass, right? And they're all going to listen. So that's right. All you youth, listen up. Here she is. Holy crap. What got you into the acknowledgement that the mental side of sport was important?
So at first, thank you for having me, really. I always enjoy talking about these topics because they're so, so important.
Mm,
Um, I so the first so I was a professional fighter, and I always tell the story because it's so aligned with the philosophy of martial arts. When you say it's about the body first, you think, right, then it's about the mind, and then it's about the spirit, right? The body, mind, and spirit, that triangle of the whole being. And when I was a fighter, I thought everything is about the body, right? Everything. I'm an athlete, so I train harder, I do more, and oh my God, you always had to stop me. You never had to tell me to do more, right? Like most of young athletes.
yeah.
I was so focused on the body, and then I studied physical therapy because I thought it's all about the body. I want to know about the body. I want to know more. And but when I went on further and further in my career as an athlete, I could see like, wow, oh wow, it's the mental part. And I was like, wow, I train more than others. I'm faster, stronger in the sparrings. I sparred with the guys because I'm quite big, 70 kilos, 72 kilos. That's big girls rather than fighting,
Yes, yeah.
not the small ones. So I had mainly also because I started so many. I'm 41 now. When I started, there were very little women. So I
Yeah.
had to go with the boys. And they went hard on me in the sparring. They didn't care, right? They wrestled me down. They put me into the cage. They threw me. They kicked the shit out of me. That's just how it was. And the further I came as an athlete, I understood like, wow, the mental part. I got so nervous. I couldn't really deal with my emotions. I like there was a few fights I really, really wanted to run away, and
Mm,
I wanted to cry. And my coach back then, he was a great coach when it comes to skill training, and not so great when it comes to the mental aspect and
yeah.
the emotional aspect. And then I decided to go back to school and study again psychology. And I also became very quickly in my career a coach, a striking coach for MMA. And I saw it in the other fighters too, all the big boys, right? Whoa, tough big boys. And then, wow, frozen in the cage. And I really understood, wow, the mental part is such an important thing. And I mean,
Mm,
wow. Um, and it made such a difference, right? When I really got into mental skills training for myself, how I got to know myself, but then also for my fighters, for my athletes. And then further on in my development, so we have the body now, we have the mind now, and then came the spirit. So further on in my development, especially as a coach, I could see, wow, it's about the heart also, right? So we speak about the body, then we speak about the mind, right? Focus, concentration, emotional regulation, decision making, right? Keep the prefrontal cortex active. Everything is right. But then if your heart is not in it, right? If you don't find your
mm,
purpose and your meaning in what you're doing, right? The fire, as I call it also, that fire energy, there's still something missing.
yeah.
And then I went back to school and I studied mindfulness-based cognitive therapy and mindfulness-based practices. And I went a lot into meditation. A lot of loving kindness, compassion, of course, traditional mindfulness also, but a
Yeah.
lot of heart-based practices. So when that came together, this is now I can see I work on the body, I work on the mind, and I work on the spirit. And that's how that's how we create champions. I can literally see it in the special operation forces, but I can see it also, of course, like I have top level fighters in boxing, really world class. I mean, UFC fighters, but
Yeah.
also in other sports. I can see how they become whole. You can
Yeah.
literally see it, right? When you work really, when mind and body and spirit are in alignment, and it makes me so I'm so passionate about this. Yeah, and me understanding this, that everything I do now is so interesting. The life just led me through it. I had
Mm.
to go through every step, understanding, wow, it's not just about the body. Wow, it's not just about the mind. It's like, wow, about the spirit, and then put it all together. Yeah,
Wow. There's so much in there. Like right away, I heard that even at the highest levels, we still struggle with self-doubt, with
yeah,
performing under pressure, with like all of these things that maybe young athletes think, well, I just, I'm like this because I'm young or
mm,
because I don't have enough experience or because I saw like whatever that is. And it's really good to be able to acknowledge that even at the highest levels, even though it doesn't look like it, that all these champion, masters of their craft are dealing with that internal struggle. They really are. And so that's the first thing I picked out of that. And then the second thing was the the spirit piece, like the joy piece, because I have a lot of athletes who come and work with me and they do have the skills, like you said, like coaches who are out there who are working purely just on the physical skill, the sports skill, that is so great that you do that. But being able to like also embrace the mental training side of things, or athletes, if your coach doesn't do that, finding somebody who does, because it is equally as important.
yeah,
But they struggle with the joy piece, these athletes. They're like, I'm in here and I'm doing the work and I've done it for years and I'm plateauing and I just don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. It doesn't make me happy.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and so how do we work with that with athletes when you do know that really deep down they do love it. Otherwise they wouldn't be committed and not have a social life because. So how do we work with athletes on that joy piece, that spirit piece?
I find it so interesting that you asked that because it's a major piece of my work. So
Mm,
usually at this point in my career, the people who come to work with me are top level in what they're doing, right? They're really the badass athletes. And I work mostly with men because the Special Operation Forces and MMA is just such a man-dominated field.
yeah.
And they really they're on their top, and at some point they feel like they're burning out. That's usually when they come to me, they're burning out, they just don't feel it anymore, they feel like overwhelmed, like this is I don't, and it's not right, they're usually, so that's an interesting thing, they're not scared of fighting, they're not scared of jumping out of the helicopter, really. It's more about, okay, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Can I really put in the whole of me? Can I really be that good? Right? It's not like
Mm,
a physical fear. And that's really something I think young athlete needs to understand. It's not okay that you get beaten, right? Or it's not that you're okay, something will happen. Of course, special operation force is a little bit different. You can lose your life, but still
yeah.
they're trained until then. That's not the fear, but it's just like about a lot of, so two fears or two things that are problematic is you don't have a purpose anymore. So a lot of fighters who come to me on the top level, they lost their purpose. The joy part, what you say, because of course purpose is not always just joy, but to
Mm,
be in your heart connected and to your why, right? To know your
yeah.
why, and Simon Sinek always says that your deep philosophy, and that's the big part of my work. So we go back to, okay, what are your values? What is your philosophy? What are you standing for? Who do you want to be in your life? And
Mm,
that ignites the whole spirit in them again, right?
yeah.
There are most athletes, and especially when we're younger, I was like this, all outcome oriented. Yeah, it's all outcome oriented and not process enough. And so when we step back into our purpose, when we find our values in something, something that really, okay, why I'm doing that, as we always speak, right? The growth mindset, when we understand that, okay, that experience is here, or I'm taking in the whole experience to grow. And then you can also, you don't see failure as something negative anymore, right? You know that failure and success are the two sides of the same coin,
Yeah.
as we know in psychology. And even I teach it, I know it, I'm still struggling with that. It's so conditioned into our brains, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh
100%.
my
I same
goodness.
thing. I still struggle with it too.
Yeah, of course, because they're so conditioned. And the second is, I will come back to it, but the second is also really fear of other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fear so much the social judgment part, right? And people struggle with that. We all, again, I struggle with it too. Right?
Yeah.
So for people who don't know me, you don't know me also, I'm trying to be really authentic in my work. And that's my
Mhm.
teaching style also.
Yeah.
And that is also, that's another thing, right? When you trust yourself and you trust life and the experience and you trust the process, you'll be okay with saying, okay, I fucked up, right? I
Yeah.
failed. I
Yeah.
didn't do well here. I just recently, in a very important fight, we as a corner did a strategical mistake and nobody said anything. And I had to say it. I'm like, guys, I'm sorry. You can take
Mhm.
it on. I can say it was me. It doesn't matter. But we did a mistake, right? Or I did a mistake in that I should have said, and I should have coached him different. And he lost the fight.
Mhm.
We did a strategical or tactical mistake. Okay, I took it and I have no issues with that anymore.
Yeah.
And you cannot be authentic if you're so scared that people will always judge you and people look at you and you constantly are run by this fear of other people's opinions. And also, when you just outcome and goal, of course, you need a goal, you need a vision, like a direction in your life. Okay, yeah, but if you just oriented in there, you miss the present moment, as we say in mindfulness, and that's it, right? The present moment is life. And when you miss the present moment, not just that you lose life quality, you lose performance also, right?
Yeah.
Because the mental time traveling, mind wandering constantly away from where you should be. And these are the two. So a lot of my work is really hard practices, right? To be like, okay,
Mm.
who are you, right? Look into the mirror and tell yourself, or tell me, who are you, right? What is
Yeah.
your dream? What is your feeling? Because we lose that. Or sometimes when we're younger, we don't know about it yet, right? We didn't develop it yet, right?
Yeah.
It's deep, deep contemplative, deep reflective practices that with the right coach or with the right environment, with the right team,
Yeah.
it's such interesting work also. You get to know yourself, right? So I'm still doing the work. I still have mentors also. And I'm wow, I'm still at this point, I'm at this my career, I'm still uncovering things. Oh, wow. And of course, I'm developing still too. So,
Yeah. That is such a big piece too, because the journey of figuring out who we are really never ends because we're
yeah,
continually changing, right? And so I I love that because that is also something that I speak to my athletes about is the importance of yes, having that outcome goal as the lighthouse, the direction that you want to
right.
go, but the important part is what is going on in this present moment and who you are becoming. Because when you're focused on where your feet are, then you are becoming the kind of person who can get that outcome. And then
Yes.
guess what? As soon as you get there, you're going to be like, okay, what next? And
Yeah.
outcomes also aren't things that we can control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so and
It's
so being
exactly right.
right, tying all of our value into this outcome rather
Yeah.
than becoming the disciplined, committed,
Yeah.
person that could get that or we could be doing that and then all of a sudden realize, oh, that's actually not the goal I want anymore, and totally
Yeah.
change it because you've
Right.
gotten to know yourself better in the
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, as youth, because I know that this is a struggle for youth because of development too. Like, our brains at that age are actually not fully developed into a
Yeah.
way
I
that
will
we
prefer the
can,
context is
right? It's still not. And so, like, how do we help these elite athletes be able to understand what we're talking about right now and put it into action even though like biologically, it's not necessarily an easy thing for them to understand.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's such a great question. I actually, because I don't work with youth, I actually never thought about it. This is such a much more, yeah, wow, interesting field now. Because
Hmm.
so the thing is always acceptance, right? You can,
Mm.
maybe you don't have the executive function fully, means the control and the impulse control, emotional, maybe it's not fully developed, but you can definitely practice acceptance and compassion to yourself.
That is
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Because these are skills a 3-year-old can learn. Yeah.
Yes.
Or I still believe we don't have to learn it. We have it. I think we have innate compassion and
Yes.
acceptance to the world as it is. Right.
Yeah.
We have curiosity. That's another very, very big thing, right? Curiosity.
Yes.
And these are, so when you speak about acceptance, compassion, and curiosity in this context, these are skills, right?
Yes.
And a 5-year-old can learn it, and a 50-year-old can learn it, right? What
Yes.
we always say, that's similar what we just said, basically. They're maybe young and they're still developing the brain. The same we say sometimes about older people.
Hmm.
Right? Oh my
Yeah.
God, no, I'm 60, 70, 50, and I can't change anymore. Right? And I was like, it's develop the skills, right? Maybe it
Yeah.
takes longer, true. Maybe it takes a lot more energy. Yes, it does, right? So the
Yes.
young and the older. So maybe with around 40, I'm right now kind of stabilized. Who knows?
You're perfect. You're the perfect age right now.
Who knows? It depends on the experience, I guess, in life. But these skills like so emotional regulation, for example, if you teach or older or younger athletes the acceptance and the compassion and loving kindness, right, which they seem so wish like some so rainbow and unicorn and Instagram things, but they're so powerful.
Yes.
And that is something that I really, really want people to understand from my whole heart, that these softy sounding words are the most strong ones. Like
Mm.
loving kindness, compassion, but also curiosity. It seems maybe less soft, but still a lot of people like, right? They think,
Mhm.
people think, and a lot of young athletes think like, I have to be a professional athlete, because it's a little bit because of YouTube and Instagram. Yeah. People mistake often when it comes to mental skills training, mental performance, motivational videos, and what we do in our work. I always say, like, I am not a motivational speaker, right? Well, if I like sometimes to listen to some motivational things, right? If I
Yeah.
train, yeah, I like, it's interesting for me. Makes me a little bit more aroused. I get, okay, cool. It makes me more motivated, and I push a little harder. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it right, but it because we confuse it, we think that, oh, it's the hard way. Let's go. Let's effing go. Right? Wow, wow. This is all like, it's so, it's like this aggression. Everything has to be pushing forward and aggressive. And that it has its part. I mean, I'm from MMA. It's one of the hardest sport in the world. It has its
Yeah.
part, right? When
Yes.
you in round, whatever, 8 in sparring, then really that's how you talk to yourself. Okay, let's go. Right? This is the only thing. Okay, whatever. No, I do not let him. I will not give up. Nose bleeding, like, wow, crazy. Sometimes mixed up with tears. Everything happened in my career. Yeah. When I wasn't sure if it's the snot or if it's just tears. It was
Yes.
mixed up with some blood flying around. Obviously, not every sparring, but it happened.
Yeah.
And but so you need, of course, you need aggression, right? You need the aggression piece, but and that's how I call it, is positive aggression,
Mm.
right? So positive aggression. So the end is the end product of when I do a good work. I know it, that my athlete has positive aggression. So he's focused, he's curious, he's super present, right? He's switched
Mm.
on, but he's not in tunnel vision, right? Not in the, he still has the peripheral vision. He's still controlled and calm, right? But there, and his aggression or her aggression comes from the deeper purpose, from
Mm.
wanting to be there, from really diving fully into life and being like, that's it. I want to give my 100% and let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's be open. If my 100% is not enough, we go back. It sucks, yes, but
Yeah.
you have to go. Like if you go into the fight and like, oh, I don't know, you will always hold back, and
Yeah.
that is the problem, right? We hold back because we fear. We have fear of, oh my God, what if we fail? What people will say, and so on. Everything we talked about.
Yeah.
So to step into positive aggression, you get actually through empathy, love to yourself, right? Love to the art you do,
Mm.
love to the coaches. What's team spirit? What is team spirit? It's love, right?
Yeah.
Team spirit is love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When
Yeah.
you go into the cage, I get even goosebumps when I talk about this. When my fighters fight, they know when they turn around, they see my face, they're always like, oh my God, coach, I know you would fight for me. I'm like, yeah, if I had to, I jump over. I'm gonna get knocked out at that level. But doesn't matter. I do it, right? And so
Mm.
those deeper emotions are much more, they're positive emotions, right? And we build in professional sports, we build too much on negative aggression, right?
Mm.
Fear-based aggression.
Yeah.
So we are aggressive because we're like, oh my God, if that, so we avoid, right? Avoidance motivation. We do this
Yeah.
thing, we go really quick because we are so scared we will be behind. We're so scared what people will say. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so fear-based. And that's a negative aggression, what I say, because it's chaotic, right? You don't have you don't have good vision,
Yeah.
right? Your brain is not working well, and you're not, again, coming back to it, the topic maybe of this of my work, it's not from the heart.
Yeah. So
And
I love, yeah.
no, no,
So would you say that it would be a really good idea for the youth that are listening today to take a minute and sit down and with like a pen and paper, or if you're old school, or on your app, notes app on your phone,
with the youth today, they probably
right? Yeah. Uh, but to write out like why you love your sport so much
yeah,
and what you want out of it and who you want to
yeah,
become because of your sport. And
yeah,
if if all of those are like outcome based, well, I just want to win gold or I want to go to the Olympics, or then let's challenge them maybe to go, okay, well, why do you want to go to the Olympics? What is
right,
it about an Olympic athlete that
yes,
gets you jacked?
yes,
What does an Olympic athlete represent?
yes,
And then that kind of gives them what you're saying, that the purpose that's written out and the why.
yeah,
And then maybe in moments of dips of why am I doing this? And then you can pull that note up and be like, this is why. This is who
yeah.
I want to become. This is
And that I can, that's not just for the young ones, for the older athletes,
yeah.
top level athletes. That's what we worked on. Exactly that.
Oh,
We
that's
always
awesome.
come back. We rewrite personal philosophy. We come back to our values, to the vision, to who they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very good example on this. Is my my athlete. He's a boxer. He just won the WBC interim title, World Championship. So huge one, right? That's
Yeah.
a huge one in boxing,
Yeah.
and he can make a really good career out of this. And he it was very unusual because before the fight, so we had our talk. So we were online. I didn't travel with him this time, but usually I did, just not for this fight. And we had an online meeting before, and it was, I knew right away because I saw him already the weeks before in camp that it would be very good. But honestly, it was so beautiful. And you would say woohoo as in psychology. I don't know if that's the right way. He said before the fight to me, he said he looked at me and he had like he got really emotional. I had really tears in my eyes, but he said, he was sitting with this calm face and he said, I know it's before the fight, but I want to thank you already. Because of you, I know who I am, and because of you, I don't care about the outcome. The belt will be mine either way. And he said, I want to be, first time in my life, the best version, everything I can be. I want to be this in the fight, and coach, I know I will be.
Mm.
And he said it not like with crazy emotions. He said it super calm. And it brought me to tears. And after he won that fight, and I mean, he boxed incredibly differently in this fight, super calm. The whole Poland, who's a Polish boxer, was like,
Yeah.
whole Poland was like, what happened to this guy? Because he was always like super aggressive, because that's what he learned. And I mean, he
Yeah.
knocked out most of his opponents. He's in the top of boxing in the world, right?
Yeah.
Very great fighter. But now he had the skills. He just completely outboxed this guy. He
Yeah.
boxed, not just power and force and brutality. It was beautiful boxing. And
Mm.
this guy with a face like he never smiled. Because before we started working, he never smiled. People didn't know what to do with him in interviews. He was like, yes, no, this, that. And but he stepped into really, he connected to so much more
Mm.
what he had inside. Like, for example, we went back and we talked about his childhood a lot, right? What he wanted, what were his needs, right? To the inner child he has.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a guy who's over 30, right? It's an adult, big boy, badass guy.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't believe it that top performance is about all those soft things. He's like, Daria, I can't even, he's like, coach, when people ask me about our work, they don't even understand it.
Yeah.
Like, what is she saying? Because they think I motivate him to go for faster, harder, more. Yeah, if I have to, but that's that little of our work. Yeah. A
Mhm.
lot of people, and not just athletes, right? A lot of people, we need more reflection, contemplation, reaching
Mhm.
deep into our soul, knowing ourselves. We need much more of this. We need also community to work with people. Right?
Yeah.
We need the love, right? Really, all of us, we need the love, and we need
Yeah.
more of this, obviously, always paired, and that's to be really, really here complete, not that people think like it's all about love and unicorn and rainbows. Yeah, it is also, but obviously you have to pair it with a better. That's warrior spirit. Right?
Yes.
I speak a lot about warrior spirit. That is true warrior spirit, right? Emotional control, but also purpose and meaning, and a really deep heart motivation. But then also you need brutality. You need that fighter spirit, right? In every sport, you have to go for it. And
Yeah.
when you match this,
Yeah.
magic happens.
Oh, what? Okay. First of all, like, what an amazing compliment to get. That is like the compliment of the lifetime with this guy saying that to you. That
Yeah.
because
It
of,
made me cry.
what you've taught. Yeah, right? Oh, I'm just like, oh.
Imagine this though, for the listeners. Imagine this. So you're a badass, tough, Polish, top level boxer in the world, right? Known for being badass. Then you get a female coach, which is for not always in those countries, like
Yep.
where like, and then your mental performance coach before the fight, she has tears and right. It is so not traditional. Not that's not how people see the world, but that's
Yeah.
how I work. And the
Yeah.
guys, like the toughest guys in the world, they trust me and they're like this because of this authenticity. And again, right,
Yes.
to show the emotions, to be there. To yes, I give my heart to them, which is sometimes when they lose, it's hard for me too.
Yeah.
I cannot. If you can't disidentify with success, you can't disidentify with failure, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is just like, and I always have to be also careful to not over identify with everything they do, but in sports, and I think that's such a big difference between psychotherapy, right? What we do in sports, you
Yeah.
have to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that also brought up again the point of that you said that it's not necessarily a normal thing. Like all of what you said, like having a female coach, focusing on mental performance, tapping into your emotions, like all of these things, they're not, quote unquote normal. But here we are with people who you want to be the best. You want to be the top of the top. You want to master your skill and all these things. That means that you cannot do what everybody else is doing. And that
Yeah,
means that you, as a 15-year-old sitting here
yeah,
listening to this, that
yeah,
means that it might be weird that you're sitting in your room writing about who you want to become and why you love your sport because no one else is doing it. But guess
yeah,
what? Because you're doing that, you're setting yourself up
Yeah.
for a long-term sustainable success, and you're building into yourself in a completely
Right.
different way. You're putting yourself ahead of your peers.
Yeah, this is so well put. So on point, really. You put it so well. That's
Yeah,
exactly it, right? You can literally, this, you made it so visual, right? You can see all of us on that age, like, oh my God, I wish someone would have told me that, right? When I was a young fighter, I struggled so much with my emotions. And I
mm,
was super talented. I was such a talented kickboxer that people said, like, unreal
yeah.
and so hardworking. But when I was younger, it's just like, wow, emotionally, I could not deal with the pressure. I mean, not always, obviously, but
Yeah.
it could have not even about the performance, not because I still had okay accomplishments. It is about that I lost so much time in my career. And I hear that from my athletes or other clients I have all the time. Why did I not meet you earlier? And that is something that
Yeah.
for, for the young athletes, I wish them to really, they have you, right? This is
Yeah.
what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
They listen to all the people they maybe like to listen to. And you, because you lose time, right? When you, no hard work would ever be fruitful without the emotional maturity to it.
Hmm.
You just lose valuable time. And I can see it in my career. That time when I was fighting, I don't remember some of my fights because I was stressed. And that's, I hear that from so many of my athletes. When I ask them, okay, what do you remember the last 5 years? What is the most important, let's say, negative or positive things that you remember? There's like, oh man, I'm tense and I'm stressed, and I always feel like I'm not enough. Like I hear that all the time. I'm
Yeah.
not enough. I don't think if I can. I don't know if I can make it. Maybe not the top level, right? Because they develop these skills to do. They still think that, but they work it pretty quick
Yeah.
out. Right? Those thoughts
Yeah.
come, right? They come to all of us.
Yeah. Oh,
When
yeah.
before a big thing, like, and then you're like, okay, redirecting attention. Let's step into my vision. Let's do visualization. Let's do attention training. Let's do mindfulness. That's where we have these skills. That's what professional athletes can step quicker, right? Back
Hmm.
into the optimal state.
Yeah.
Which, when we don't have the skills, we who didn't learn that, we got just left without the skills with dealing. In general, I think that everything we do in sports psychology or mental skills training should be taught in schools.
I agree. 100% I agree. And
We
it's
would,
interesting. I love that you spoke about how, the highest of the highest of the levels of performers, competitors, like all that kind of stuff. And we talked about this at the beginning too. We all still get those thoughts. It's the bounce back that is quicker. And
yeah.
I like to say that the first, can we control our thoughts? Maybe not necessarily the first one, but we can control the second one.
Mm,
And so being able to shorten that time between a thought that just, kind of pops into our head and then the second thought
yeah.
that we counteract it with,
Yeah.
that is where we are seeing the elite of the elite, is that they've
Yes.
shortened that time
Yeah.
frame so that it doesn't turn into a doom loop that has them
Right.
spiraling down and then all of a
Right.
sudden, they've lost the fight or they've lost the game
Yeah.
or whatever that is, right?
Yeah. But
So
that's resilience, right?
yes.
That's resilience. People think about resilience that it is like that you always optimistic, positive, mentally tough, and that you're always motivated. Like there's nothing like this,
No.
right? Nothing. It's just how, what you say, how quick you bounce back ability, right? Your
Yes.
ability to
Yeah.
bounce back from these negative thoughts or states or shifts, right? Emotions.
Yeah.
But that's awareness, right? That is why the key to everything is presence and awareness, right? You need to be conscious about it. You
Yeah.
need to sit and start to observe your mind, your emotions, right? What's happening, the situational awareness. Where are you in your life? Like really observing what people are you with, who's
Mhm.
influencing you, who are you influencing, and so on. Right? That's so everything starts with awareness. That's why awareness in my work also it's a big piece, right? Awareness, really, really sharpening your senses,
Mhm.
understanding, like really. Actually, before our call, I did a meditation, super simple one, but I had a profound moment again because still, right, I do meditations for a long time, mindfulness for a long time, but still, you fall off then back in for like, so I do my practice, but it's like in physical practice. Sometimes you feel much more in it, sometimes you're out of it.
Yeah.
And today I had such a profound moment because I was just counting breaths, right? For 15 minutes, in, out, one, in, out, two, in, out, three to five, and then back from the beginning, right? Until, or when I lost count on three, back to the beginning, right? Which happened a few times today. But you know what was interesting, and that's awareness. And I was like, whoa, okay, my awareness is sharpening again because lately I felt like I'm a little bit overworked, and then my
Mm.
mind is not working also that well, which is not great when you mental performance coach. Then your mind is not working so well. So I had to correct myself. And so speaking about awareness, because so I was first that a few minutes was in my mind. Really, I could hear my voice breathing in, breathing out. One, breathing in, breathing out. Two. So there was the inner narrator, right? As
Mm.
our inner dialogue, what we always talk about, blah 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 blah, non-stop talking some shit. Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes some creative and interesting things, most of the time some bullshit. Yeah. So I heard the narrator, and then after a while, I could see it. Then it was just in, out, one, in, out. So it got shorter. And all of a sudden, I went into the experience. So I didn't say in, out. The inner narrator vanished. And it was just feeling, breathing in and breathing out. So it went from conceptual awareness to non-conceptual awareness.
Mm.
Right? So being it instead of doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that is what we need in performance. And see, look, I
Mm.
do this for over 12 years, meditation practice and mindfulness, and I still get in and out of
Mm-hmm.
this. And I, I was like, wow, I have to train more again. I could really, the end of the practice was just, I could feel it. I didn't count anymore. And I almost like, I could feel the numbers in my mind. It's hard to explain to someone
Yeah.
who doesn't do these practices. So it was not a voice in my head anymore saying like conceptual narrator, one,
Yeah.
two, breathing in, breathing out, right? Coaching myself. No, it
Yeah.
was just really being it, being the breath, being the number, being the breath, being the number.
Yeah.
And that is the presence.
Mm.
And right, a
Yeah.
non-conceptual awareness where the concept and your inner voices just flow state. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we
Yeah.
get into flow state.
Yeah.
And that is what I can see in my fighters when we get there to all different attention and mindfulness practices and visualizations. That's where you perform the best.
Mm.
But I have to say that I never realized it so profoundly in the counting meditation. In different moments, in movement also, mindful movement, for example, which I like doing. But that is that piece, right?
Mm.
That is that presence and awareness piece. And
Yeah.
this is what I wish every young athlete to understand the difference between
Yeah.
doing and being it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Doing the performance, being the performance.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I would love to add to that too, that a lot of us, when we first kind of hear the concept of being resilient or being gritty or mentally tough, we think that it is an outcome,
yeah,
but it's not actually an outcome. It's like
yeah,
it is a lifestyle. It's a daily choice. Just like
yeah.
you and your
Ongoing.
breathing earlier, it was a choice to continually bring yourself back. And then all of a sudden you were there
Yeah,
and then you were just it. Right. And so being able to understand that too as a young athlete is that being this like super gritty, mentally tough athlete isn't something that you're going to be in 10 years when you finally get there. It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's actually happening right now. Every time that you make a choice to show up for yourself, to make the
yeah,
choice to make take one more step towards who you want to become. And and in that what happens too is that when we start living this lifestyle of being a gritty human, a resilient human, a mentally strong human, all of a sudden that trust, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier too, that like you start to trust yourself a lot more and you
yeah,
have
yeah,
confidence because every day you know that you are showing up for yourself. Other
yeah,
people on the outside might not even know that you're showing up for yourself, but you
yeah.
are.
Yeah, and that's the meaning of really going fully in, right? When I speak to my athletes, If you go full in, you've done everything you could do, just let go full in, trust the
Mhm.
experience, trust life, trust yourself, get away from this outcome, right? The outcome will come either way. If you
Yeah.
really train well, you have a good team, you will do, of course, right? In professional sports, there's a lot of luck, and I know how to keep it very realistically. But when you train well, you have a good team, you really put effort in, you do your mental skills training, you at some point you will get to that outcome. And this is so
Mhm.
well said what you said. It's an ongoing process, but that's life, right? We look
Yeah.
in life, we always look, if I get this partner, I will feel better. If
Mhm.
I lose a few pounds, kilos, I will, I wouldn't want, if I don't know, we always think about if I get this, something will change.
Yeah.
Which still, again, everything we talk about, I'm still working on.
Yeah, me too.
But
Yeah.
these are programs. These programs are so ingrained in our
Yeah.
culture, how we get socialized and everything, our genes,
Yeah.
right? We're so stuck in them sometimes that's why you have to, like, I still work on myself constantly.
Yeah.
And I can see, right? I can see literally when I'm on the champions level and when I lose the champions level. And that's another thing, right? That I really, and this is a lot of people who are not doing what I do, or not around professional athletes so much. They're like, oh, they really like this? Yeah, they really doubt. Yeah, they really, yeah, they doubt. They cry. They have like a shithead narrator in them too sometimes. They're very negative, their dialogue sometimes. And it's part of the human nature.
Yeah.
And I think we don't talk enough about this. We don't
Mhm.
talk enough about what hurts us, what we're scared of, what makes us sometimes also depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, what hurts our heart, what are our biggest fears, like all of these things. It's so important to acknowledge them, not just for yourself, with yourself, just one thing, but also with other people. And
Mhm.
so when you jump in, when you really, so through all of this work, you start living fully, right? So
Yeah.
you live fully there in this experience. Then failure is not failure anymore,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, okay, it's information. And
Yes.
of course, I know it's much easier to say than to do,
Yep.
but it is like this, right? So especially earlier in your career, now we know in MMA, for example, that's why we have amateur fights and semi-professional fights. As much as I want them to do a lot of semi-pro and amateur fights to get this experience, lose win, doesn't matter. Get it.
Yep.
And that you can see when they step into professional too early, right? It's not that they don't have the skills. It's usually that they don't have the emotional skills, right? They didn't learn to how to deal with adversity. And when you're a young athlete, that's why you're a young athlete, right? That's why you're still building your career. But you cannot, if you always avoid failure, you won't grow, right? We know that.
Yeah.
We know that. Logically, we know that, but emotionally, we really don't like it, right? We want to look good. We want to look, everybody's like, want to look good and nice and right on strong and right wherever you are,
Yeah.
look strong and badass. And so, yeah, we all want that.
Yeah.
But at some point, you will have to understand that almost like, and which is funny because part of my philosophy, my life philosophy, and I said to my students and my athletes, I think I affirmed a little bit too much of this, because my philosophy is that I wrote it down. I wrote down, okay, make me strong enough to go through all possible experiences in life. So we're
Mhm.
not speaking about just the good emotions, just the bad ones. So I can transform them to teach them from the heart to the world.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I affirmed the universe, God, whoever you believe in, literally listened very well to me. Like, wow, my life is full of experiences, of
Yeah.
those tough ones, but also extremely beautiful and incredible. I've done incredible things, but wow, it also didn't spare me real pain.
Yeah.
And but the moment you say, like, okay, and this is really, I go back to this philosophy. I'm like, why did I not write, hey, I want to be always just great and super strong? Damn it. But I
Had to be
know,
more specific.
oh yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, I really affirmed it into my life. I really called it into my life. But it is like this. If you're not scared of the
Mhm.
whole of the experience, you're good.
Yeah.
You fail, and that's how you get confident. You know how to
Mhm.
deal with adversity, because confident, obviously, when everything goes good, everybody's confident. But when things go to shit, and you know how to deal with it because you failed already so many times in training or even in competition that you're like, okay, it's part of it. I'm still pissed off, but it's
Yeah.
part of it. And then you move on. And
Yeah.
I wish, really, I wish I would have learned that. Maybe if someone would have told me, I think I wouldn't listen. I hope you who's listening is more wise than me because, oh my God, I was not an easy athlete. I was so emotional.
So we've talked a little bit about this concept of letting go and like letting go of the
Mm.
failure, letting go of the outcome, letting go of how do we do that? And how do we differentiate between what is something we can control and what is something that we can't, and then let go of what we can't?
Mm. Make a list.
Make a list.
I always
Okay.
make a list.
Yeah.
Controllables,
Yeah.
uncontrollables, right? So obviously, like at the end in life, and that's the life is uncontrollable. Life is also impermanent, it's ever changing. And that's the nature, right? In all
Yeah.
philosophies and religions, they speak about it, right?
Yeah.
It's general rule in life. It's ever changing. It's you can't really foresee it. So what you can control is always just your internal state. We know that, right? As mental skills trainers, we know that. But it is because of our nature of our brain and our mind how it works, right? Because not just our ego, just we as with our whole identity we try to control, right? We control outcomes because we're insecure, right?
Yeah.
Who is really comfortable? I mean, you have to be really really evolved to walk through life and really accept the nature of life, that really you can't control a lot.
Yeah.
You can't control how people see you, their opinions about you. You
Mhm.
don't. We do, obviously. We all do it our Instagram account, right? Because usually we don't put our worst days in it,
Yeah.
rather our good days and our good photos and our good performances and so on. Right?
Yeah.
But so when you go through life constantly, so what else do you can't control? So we talked about this a little earlier, like your career, right? A professional sports career.
Yeah.
Ooh, you have to have a good manager, you have to have a good team, a good coach, and not just good. They have to be also fitted to you, right?
Mhm.
A good coach can be good for one, not good for. So there's so many things that basically and that's the resistance and the pain in our lives, that we constantly try to control other people's opinions, behaviors,
Yeah.
and we try to control the external world. We basically what we all do is we manipulate people into that reality we like,
Yeah.
because we feel better, because it's our ego, we want to feel better. At the end it's all fear-based because we don't have enough confidence in us, right, and self-love to be like, no, I'm okay, right? If you don't like me, I'm okay. How hard is this, right? I had to it's another thing I had to learn, because I'm in a male environment. At the beginning of my career, they were not welcoming me as a
Yeah.
striking coach. So there's not many top level UFC level striking coaches, female striking coaches. That was already weird. And then I brought mental performance into the sport, and they were like,
Mhm.
this is too much, right? And they weren't very happy, and they weren't very nice, right? They
Yeah.
were extremely dismissive to me, and it was painful.
Yeah.
And I had the only chance. I was like, okay, do I make myself small? And do I will be like, okay. Then I had the time, which is interesting. I tried to control everything. So I tried to speak tougher, be tougher, a little bit like maybe a little speaking, being more like a guy, like a man. Until I realized at the end, like, wow, first you can't control them, and second, it's not you, it's not your nature.
Yeah.
And when I stepped into my nature, coming back to the control, and I started control really me, so developing my internal skills, my emotional regulation, my focus, my mindfulness, but also being really curious about my art and bringing that love and that passion and curiosity into it. My
Mhm.
energy changed, so everything changed. And
Yeah.
that's when I got really up to the top level. It's really interesting when I did the shift.
Yes.
That's when I really energy frequency wise, boom, it went. And all of the sudden, there's a funny thing, when I was, because I like to be nice, All right, I just like to be nice. When I showed my emotions, right? For example, I say that the people in Poland, for example, where I have a lot of top level fighters, they know that I'm super emotional, but also super tough. And
Hmm.
they accept it now. Since I show this, and I said it in many interviews, they're like, yeah, I cry sometimes really because of all the emotions I have. But
Yeah.
I know exactly when I have to also be super tough for the fight. Right? When there's no crying, now it's work. There's time for crying, there's time to work, but it's all me.
Yeah.
And when I did that shift, right, when I really started to even not even control, right, control what the word control might be not even the right ones, but when I put my attention on developing me, my skills, again, what you say, right, that's what a young athlete should do, right? Developing your own skills, developing your own self, your own identity, and then everything around will fall into place, right? And
Mm.
people pick up on this because that's, look, when we look at someone who walks, when they're like just, they're calm, they're confident, they're nice, they just walk, they mind their own business, you pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, interesting. And
Yeah.
that's what happened to me. I
Yeah.
could really see it when I started speaking. Yeah, for example, that's another thing. What we because we always try to hide the things, our weaknesses. So in boxing, I was a journeyman. So my coach threw me into boxing as a kickboxer, and other girls made a record on me, right? So because I was okay, so I didn't get knocked out. Obviously,
Yeah.
I boxed okay, but I boxed with girls who were like top level, and they made the record, right? That's a journeyman. And for a long time, I was so scared to say that
Mm.
in interviews, in podcasts. It was such a fear. I was like, oh my God, when they find out I lost all my boxing fights, right? And you can see it in Box Rec, obviously.
Yeah.
And then people who wanted to hurt me, to attack me, of course, they pick up on this and they
Hmm.
started saying that in the media. And you know
Hmm.
what? There was a day when I was like, I went to a podcast, an interview, and I was like, you know what? Yes, I was a journeyman. Yeah, that's true. I was young. I did what my coach told me to do. And honestly, the whole fear, the years of fear I had, it just vanished. And I felt so free. Yeah, and that is right. That when you're not scared of your failure, when you're not scared of things, I know why I did it. I know what was wrong, what was right about this. Okay, I take it just as now information and experience. Right? It didn't say
Hmm.
anything about me. But
Yeah.
that is something you need to learn.
Yeah.
And so when you develop right, when you really so true to yourself and you treat yourself with compassion and kindness and love and respect, and you show that to people, now people, I'm like, yeah, okay, so what? Because maybe not anymore, but even a few years ago, people like, oh, so you as a striking coach lost all the boxing coaches, boxing fights. I'm like, yeah, I was a journeyman. Anything else you want to say? Or
Hmm.
anything else you want to say? Yeah, but you can't be a coach. I'm like, you know what? Don't want to even talk about this, honestly. Think
Yeah.
whatever you want to think. And I moved on.
Yeah.
Didn't hit me anymore. Right? That is the thing. That again, what do you can control? Just your internal state.
Hmm.
Right? And we should put all of our work to control that, our skills and our internal state.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard it once somewhere and I forget who said it, but it was something along the lines that when somebody tries to take like a mistake, quote unquote, or a quote unquote failure of yours and like throw it in your face, to just be like, oh no, 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 you don't get to like, that's mine. You
Yeah.
don't get to take
Owning
that from
it.
me. That is like
Owning it.
I failed
Yes.
at that. And guess what? I learned so much through it. So
Yes.
whatever. Like that is I'm owning that. And
Yes.
then that
Yes.
keeps your, it doesn't only like keep your respect, self-respect, it builds it. Because
Yeah.
then again, you are owning it and then also owning all of the lessons and the grit and the, everything that kind of came with it. So yeah, I love that. And I really want to dive into the curiosity piece because it's come up a couple of times, and I agree with you that it is absolutely vital in developing yourself as a human and as an athlete. And it's
Mm.
like it's interesting, like so I even say when I'm working with these athletes is that when they're feeling anxious or when they're feeling self-doubt or like all these things, instead of being intimidated by it, let's take a breath and be curious by it.
Mm.
Because then that removes the scary factor. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're just a detective about
Yeah.
your own
That's,
emotions and about what's
that's,
going on internally, because when we become internal detective, then we have the ability to get to the root of it and then make it not happen anymore. We get to empower ourselves and gain control. So like
yeah.
talk to me about curiosity.
You know, I speak a lot about curiosity and play, for example, in sparrings, right? In our MMA sparrings. There's moments where you do a really Shark Tank, where it's like, okay, it's all about toughness and grit. There's no time for play or curiosity, and that's
Yeah.
not how I advise them. It's Shark Tank. So every minute someone else comes in, right? 5 rounds, 6 rounds, full pressure. That's just, and you need it too, but we don't do that much. Most of our training, like professional trainings, camps, as about look skill refinement and skill integration. And when is this happening on a neurological and physiological level is when we are in a balanced state in our nervous system, right? When we're not too hyper or hyper aroused, right? When we're in an optimal state, when we're present, not too aroused, not too scared, right? Not too tense, because obviously when you are so fear-based, right?
Yeah.
And you're constantly thinking like, oh my God, that shouldn't happen and that can't happen and so on. You close, right? You get again into tunnel vision, not just in your vision, but also in your mind, right? So your curiosity and play brings you skill, innovation, right? It brings you creativity and innovation. And that is what you need, the presence to feel, to try out, to play with your body, to play with maybe strategies, skills, tactics.
Yeah.
And through curiosity you start feeling and being again instead of doing, right? The inner, when you're curious, when you get really into this curious and play state, you get into flow state. A lot of people, of athletes say like, oh wow, I went straight into flow state, because again in a narrative, blah 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 blah, constantly judging, analyzing, which there's a time for this, right? Not maybe to judge but to analyze, obviously, right? We
Yeah.
analyze our performances, it's just facts, this, okay, really looking in, but that's also part. But the play and curiosity part, especially in fighting sports, is really hard to teach them. Yeah, because everybody's like, what? I like, for example, some of my athletes, top level. And when I tell them, okay, I want you to give up this round because I want you to train something very specifically. I don't
Mm.
know, take down the fence and then some punches. So you have to let him sometimes take it. Although maybe you would be much better usually, and you're much better striker, and you could just strike him down and win the whole round. No, I don't want this. Right? This is obvious. Right? We need
Yeah.
to go through all the scenarios. Fighters have a real issue with that. Right?
Yeah.
There's like, oh, the egos has to be like really put to the side, because sometimes I tell them, okay, you will look maybe from the side not great in the sparring because they don't know what you're doing, and they don't have to know what you're doing, right? You have your own strategy, and see that's how much strength in it is, right? To look,
Yeah.
let's say, weaker or worse, to give away the sparring, to say lose the sparring,
Yeah.
right, for the greater good. A lot of fighters and athletes have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So here we work a lot on like, okay, be curious. I want you to be curious. I want you to feel it, play it, right? Get
Yeah.
even hit a few times, right? Feel it, move with it to get into this flow. So
Yeah.
it's not just a mental state. It is literally a neurological and physiological state, right? Because your
Hmm.
stress hormones go down, right? You're more balanced, you're more positive, optimistic, which is all creative, innovative, and that's when you art, when you really go into perfection of art.
Yeah.
But hard to explain for an athlete. We'll always go like, ah!
But I don't want to. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
that's another thing, right? In our sports, in MMA, some fighters have a real issue to train and not be super tired after the training, right? And that's nervous system, right? They
Yeah.
always want to be in sympathetic dominance constantly. Like, oh, like, no. You have to train sometimes more relaxed. So to try out things, to really to integrate these skills. But it's again because there's so much in this Instagram and YouTube world, and it's so different to how it really looks
Yeah.
working with top professional athletes. Some things, of course, are true, but that I hope, at least with what we're doing here, speaking about it, that people get maybe a little bit of a different perspective on it also.
Hmm. Now you brought up like competing, performing from like a positive place. Do we as athletes have to be in a positive mindset, happy, happy, joy, joy, in order to compete like with our highest potential? Like, do we have to be positive?
No.
Or are we? No.
No.
Good. Talk to me about it because like I feel like there's so because there's so many coaches out there, coaches and parents. You guys are terrible for this. I'm calling you out if you're listening. You're so terrible for going, just be positive. And
Oh
guess
no,
what?
that's
Like that like
like
makes me feel less positive because now I'm not positive and you're telling me to, and that
yeah.
makes me feel even worse. And so talk to me about that a little bit.
This is fake positivity. Smile when you're sad, right?
Yeah.
Go and be positive and go. It's optimism, right?
Yeah.
Optimism is the right. Optimism is there's no professional athlete who's not optimistic. I mean, on a highest level, right? We're
Yeah.
speaking with the top in every art. There's
Yeah.
nobody who I met who's like, I mean, not optimistic. If you're not, if you're pessimistic, you won't get. Wow, you won't really don't get it. So
Yeah.
that is something, right? There's
Yeah.
so self-talk and optimism, which is very much connected to it, but optimism is something that you okay, and you accept that you feel like crap today, like your legs are sore, or you feel just emotionally, I don't know, you broke up with someone broke up with you.
Yeah.
I know, parents issues, school, right? We all have, we carry so much on the field, on the track, on the mat, and it's impossible to always feel good, and that's another myth of psychology, but also our world, right? Sports and the world, that nobody told you in life, right? That's another thing I speak to my athletes about, even to myself. Man, and that's what my grandmother said, actually, a great grandmother. She said that nobody told you that life is fair and it's positive, right? And it has to cater to your needs. She said exactly this. Right? But she was super, super, like she was very strong, and she was a doer, and
Mm.
she was optimistic, right, and proactive. That's
Yeah.
what you right. That's what you should be. Again, we spoke about this today, right? You are in bad mood, you have negative emotion. Just take it as it is, right?
Yeah.
Move, and that's where attention trainings come in, and that's what I teach my athletes a lot. Who do a lot of attention training. You wake up, bad mood. Something happened, maybe something not happened. You just wake up like this, right? You have some negative self-talk. You have a sore body, maybe really sometimes before really important competition the whole weeks of training was shit. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And you go, you train, don't fight with like your mind. You should never fight with your mind, but redirect your attention. Now, until that moment, you should have worked it out a little bit again. Step into your why, remember your why. Who do you want to become, as you say
Yeah.
so greatly, right? Who do you want to be? Um, what do you need? So maybe if this is still too much, because there are days where this is even too much, where you're
Yeah.
like, I don't give a shit about you know what?
Yeah.
The world, right? I don't want.
Yeah.
Then you redirect again, and that's why I tell them pure concentration on skill execution, right?
Mm.
So it's a rotational footwork, little
Yeah.
movement, really bring it down. Control your breath, control your muscle tension, right? Let go. Usually they're tense when they're moody.
Yeah.
Let go. Work on your coordination. Find skills. So you narrow. You get out of your head into the body. That's how I call it, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
really start feeling your body, and you're very much on skill execution and strategic and tactical cues. And
Yeah.
that's how you get out of your mind. And it's interesting. You see, if you obviously it's not when you do it once or twice, but you train it, right? You train it. Oh,
Yes.
get out of your mind into the body. Okay, let's focus on the skills, on the tactics more. At some point, you will have to switch, and that
Hmm.
mood will shift because your attention shifted.
Yeah.
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 So, and now, coming back to it, that's optimism. To know that you can do it, right? That's confidence. To know that you can do it when you wake up, maybe 10 days in a row, maybe half year in a row. I have athletes who went out really 6 weeks before the UFC title fight. And the guy is looking at me and he's like, I think I will cancel the fight. I don't want to go to fight. Like
Mhm.
UFC title fight, your whole life you worked it because of so many things, privately, family stuff, and so on. Maybe a little bit older body already, not 20 anymore, and so on. A little bit injuries, everything came together. They
Yeah.
have a mental breakdown,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And we did it. In this case, we did it, and he won the fight. but literally looking at the odds of the fight, that he won the fight was almost impossible. Obviously, we know it's not. But we worked a lot on nervous system regulation, on acceptance, curiosity, everything basically we talked about, I
Yeah.
brought into this camp.
Yeah.
And he was, believe me, he was not positive, I think, a day,
Hmm.
right? For 6 weeks. I was 6 weeks every day with him.
Hmm.
I don't think we had positivity, but we had optimism.
Yeah.
Right? It came back. And I'm like, okay, you can control it for a minute, you can control it for five. You can
Yeah.
control it for a round, you can control it for a fight, for a whole fight.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how we went there. So there's such a big difference between fake positivity and
Yeah.
optimism.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that we talked about that. This time has like flown by. I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah, you too, you too. You're super smart.
We have covered so much today, but is there anything else that you think that the audience needs to hear or that you would like to like bring up or instill into them?
If you struggle, if you're in pain, reach out to us, reach out
Mm,
to the people. You don't have to be alone. And I get extremely emotional about this as well, even on here. Like, you're not alone, right?
mm,
And wow, even people who we really don't expect, I feel alone sometimes, right? Everybody feels
yeah.
alone sometimes and lost. And because life is unpredictable and
Mm,
life brings so much beautiful moments, but also so much pain. So if you feel alone and if you feel like hopeless, go and really connect to the people, connect to us, connect to write us, connect to the people maybe you trust. Just go out and speak about it to trustful people. Don't You're not alone. It
mm,
feels like this, right? It feels like this, but we are not alone. None of us is alone, although a lot of people feel like that. But it's just the illusion in our head, and we're
mhm.
not alone.
Yeah.
And we need sometimes to really get over this we just don't want to reach out. And yeah, that's definitely for me important.
That is a powerful last piece to leave. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I have lost a lot of people because they felt alone and they didn't reach out.
Yes, I know.
And
Yeah, not that I know, sorry, not that I know, but
yeah,
I did too.
yeah. And so I think that is a really powerful piece to end this off with. And speaking it out loud to trustworthy people will really help bring peace. Like it, and yeah, I agree with that 100%. I'm so thankful that you said that for the last thing because there are people listening that do feel alone or do feel, or they feel like if they said something, they would be a burden. They would be
Yeah, yeah,
burdening somebody and they don't want to
yeah,
because they care about that person and they know that that other person has so many things going on in their own life and they're dealing with their
yeah,
own shit and like all that kind of stuff. But guess what? At the end of the day, we are here to like carry each other and to walk beside each other and
yeah,
it is never you are not a burden.
yeah,
You are not a
yeah,
burden. You
yeah.
matter and you're not a burden.
From
So,
the heart,
yeah.
from the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Daria, thank you so much for coming on today. Like, I want to acknowledge you for who you are as a human being and for a human doing what you are doing because you've put so much time and energy and intention into your own development, into what you can control. And now you are teaching others that, and it's contagious. in a really beautiful and powerful way. So I just want you to know that we stand beside you and behind you and support you in the work that you do and the impact that you are creating. Thank you so much.
And it's such a pleasure talking to you. Really. You're
Thank you.
such a smart woman. It's a pleasure. And look, again, that's common humanity. I need someone who gives the platform so I can speak about the things I'm passionate about, right? You need people who maybe share really real, authentic, and interesting things about our work. So that's again the team spirit, right? That's the
Yeah.
common humanity. It's so important.
Yes. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Oh, amazing. Until next time, everybody, train your mind, build your grit, and forge your legacy.